wake up and realize.
Hey, how you doing out there? Welcome to another episode of Open Doors. It's your brother, Chris Harris. I'm back at you again with another hot topic, and I know we're going to have an awesome time today here at Open Doors. Before we get started, I need you to hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, why are you playing with me? What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, because here at Open Doors, we're dropping episodes fast. Hot topics, controversial topics, deep topics, interesting topics, things I know you want to discuss. So hit that subscribe button right now. So anytime we drop an episode here at Open Doors, it will come right to you. Don't forget to share this podcast, this episode, to the people that you know, because I know you got some people who want to get in on this conversation. All right, let's get it started. Before I say anything, before I give the topic, before I come with a question, I want to play this video clip for you, and then we're going to get started. Let me play this video clip.
Donald Trump now looking forward to a return to the White House. While the race between Mr. Trump and Vice President Harris went late into the night, it was far from a repeat of the 2020 election that took days to reach a result. In fact, many of the swing states that were critical for both candidates leaned to the right early and stayed that way.
Let's get right to Eyewitness News reporter Lauren Glassberg, who's in the newsroom with the very latest. Lauren.
David and Sandra, Donald Trump is the first president in 100 years to retake the White House after losing it. Democrats failed for the second time in 8 years to get a female candidate elected to the country's top job. President-elect Trump successfully tapped into the American psyche with the idea that life was better when he was in power, and he would make life better again.
This was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance, because we're going to help our country heal.
A little after 2 a.m., Donald Trump claimed victory.
Let me just stop it right there. It's finally over, ladies and gentlemen. All the back and forth, all the rhetoric, all the debates, all the episodes about this candidate and that candidate is finally over. Americans went to the polls a couple of days ago and they voted, and Donald Trump was elected president. And the question I have for you today is, now that the election is over, I want us to have a discussion today here at Open Door. Let's just talk, because there's some things I want to say to you. There's some things I want us to talk about. Now that the election is over, what's next? What's next? Because we've been waiting on this, for a while. When President, Biden made the announcement that he wasn't going to run for re-election, which we knew that probably was coming just by the deterioration of his health. And then Kamala Harris, the vice president, jumped into the fray, and everything that has been going back and forth between her candidacy and Donald Trump's candidacy, and a different dialogue we had. Now we finally had the election, and now we're here, and the American people have elected Donald Trump as the president. Now the question is, what's next? What's next in the upcoming days? And this is just me. This is just me, because we elected a president of America, the United States of America. Let me just say that again. We elected a leader for the United, that's the name, United States of America. So I believe what's next is that we have to try to bring this country together in some form or fashion. Let's just start there. I was looking at the Pledge of Allegiance as I was preparing for this episode. Now, when you were a kid, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance. For me, we would say it every day. We would stand before the flag and we would say the Pledge of Allegiance. And in the Pledge of Allegiance, it says one nation. The first part I wanted to highlight, it says one nation. But when you look at the nation today, are we one nation? I see a divided nation. But it said one nation. Then it says under God. One nation under God. America has gone so far away from God. America, when it was founded being under the covering of the Lord. One nation under God. Now, if you look at America today, you look at the landscape, you look at what's going on in America, it's a nation that's so far away from God. Then it says indivisible. Indivisible. Like I said, it's a divided nation. It's a divided nation. And it says liberty and justice for all. That's what's happening in America. But let me just go back. I believe that the first thing that we have to try to do, and the key word is try, we have to try to bring this country together. Because there are so much emotions I've seen after this election, so much emotions. Now, I was saying, I've had episodes where I was talking about the Democrats and just preparing people for the election. I had different topics about it. And I said in every episode that I was nonpartisan. I didn't align myself to be a Democrat. I didn't align myself to be a Republican, because there are things that I do like on one side. There are things that I do like on another side. There are things I dislike on one side. There are things that I dislike on another side. And that's in regards to the Republicans and the Democrats. I believe that it's not a perfect system. I believe that both parties are not perfect. And we're men. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. But I believe that today the Democrats are extreme. And I believe today the Republicans are extreme. So as a person who was getting ready to elect a candidate, I didn't really look at the parties per se, but I looked at the candidate, the policies, and what they represent. But in America today, as we elected a president of a nation, it's so much division. It's so much division. And it's so much emotion that has happened over the course of this election as we sit here and talk today. Now, people, please, let's talk. Let's talk. This is open doors. Let's talk, because I'm asking, after the election is over now, what's next? My people, you got to stop. You got to stop unfriending people. The things I was hearing from people, like I was saying, the emotion that's going on, we need to pause. Because we're one nation. We're one nation. We're supposed to be one nation. The president of the United States is the president of one nation. I'm an American. You're an American. We're all Americans. So we have to bring this country together to be United States of America. We have to. We have to. Because a house divided will not stand. A nation divided will not stand. That's number one. Now, I can understand that you voted for a certain candidate and that candidate didn't get elected. I can understand it. I understand it. You wanted this candidate to get elected and your candidate didn't get elected. But the emotion and the vitriol and the anger and the hatred that I've been hearing, something is wrong. Something is wrong. You should not be unfriending people because they didn't vote for the candidate that you voted for. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Because we can have difference of opinions. Let me start there. We can have differences of opinion. There are certain views that I may have that you may not have. God did not make us robots. God did not make us machines that are all alike. We have different views. We have different opinions. We have different outlooks. So just because I have a different viewpoint than you, just because I have a different outlook than you, doesn't mean that I'm evil or I'm wicked. So a person who may vote Democrat doesn't mean they're wicked. A person who votes Republican doesn't mean they're wicked people. It means that they share different viewpoints. Now, you may feel like they're misguided in their viewpoints, and you might be right. And I have something that you need to do. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the vitriol and the hatred and the anger over this, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong. You shouldn't be unfriending people on Facebook because they voted for the other candidate. Come on. Come on. We've gotten out of hand. Because they voted for the candidate that you didn't vote for, you unfriend them. I mean, I've seen relationships, friendships break up because they chose to stick with this candidate and you chose to stick to another candidate. That makes me think that maybe you weren't friends at all, really. Because if your friendship can survive this, then you really weren't friends at all. You really weren't friends at all. But I've seen it. I've seen it. I mean, the things that people have been saying, I've seen it. You shouldn't be doing that. And also, if your candidate that you voted for won, stop throwing it in people's faces. Stop throwing it in people's faces. Because we don't know what the next 4 years are going to be. We don't know. We don't know what the next 4 years are going to be. We're hopeful. We're hopeful. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen if you voted for that candidate. We don't know. We're just hopeful that things will go well with this nation. But the president, who's going to be the president when the inauguration happens in January, is the president for everyone. Another thing, stop saying it's not your president. Stop saying it's not your president. If you're an American, he's your president. You might not like him. You might not like your supervisor, but he's your supervisor. Yeah. You might not like your manager, the owner of your company that you clock in and clock out and collect a paycheck. You might not like him as a person, but he's the owner of your company. He's your boss. So stop saying that he's not your president. He's your president. He's our president. He's the leader of this nation. So stop, because you voted for this guy and the other person didn't. Why are you boasting? That's not what we're called to do. Especially if you're a Christian. And I've seen a lot of Christians act this way. And I'm a Christian. I have to call it how I see it and have to talk about things that I know. We're Christians. If you voted for Trump as a Christian and he won, you shouldn't be boasting. You shouldn't be throwing it in people's faces. And you shouldn't be putting on social media hate speech and saying that you can't believe that someone will vote for Kamala Harris because you believe they're misguided. They may be misguided. It could be definitely true, but is that, as Christians, what we're called to do, is to put hate speech or ridicule them or mock them? What are we called to do? We should be praying for them. We should be praying that God take away that misguidedness, take the scales off their eyes, give them understanding, give them discernment, give them revelation, Lord God, into how this nation has turned and where certain leaders are trying to lead this nation, if that's where you stand. If that's where you stand. So I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot that's happened in the last couple of hours, even leading up to the election. I've seen a lot. And as Americans, we have to come together because we're in this for 4 years. And we got to be hopeful and we got to be prayerful that this nation will be directed into a good place. I'm hopeful and I'm prayerful because it's only a 4-year term. It's only a 4-year term. And we should pray for our leaders. Because when our leaders, as the Bible said, have peace, we have peace. We must pray for our leaders because it's a 4-year term. And the man who's getting ready to take the office and lead this nation, let's not beat around the bush. Let's not cover it up. He's 78 years old. I'm not age discriminating or anything like that. But the same issues that we talked about President Biden, he's 78 years old. He'll be 80 next year. He'll be in his 80s within this 4-year term. So we have to pray for him that he can lead this nation and be strong enough and have the ability and agility of his mind and to his functionality to be the leader that we need in America. But I believe that we can be friends. I believe that we can function together if we have different views. Because when it comes to the Democrats and the Republicans, these two major parties, one thing I found out is that a lot of times people may vote Republican, let's say, or vote Democrat, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they agree that everything that the Democrats or the Republicans stand for. I was having a conversation with someone and they vote Democrat. They vote Democrat, right? They were saying to me, and it's kind of true what I'm about to say, what they said to me. They said to me that a lot of times people, they stick to the abortion issue. And they said it's a strong issue. But they stick to the abortion issue that the Democrats are pushing, but they ignore the other issues. As if the abortion issue is the only issue. And sometimes that's true. But to some people, the abortion issue is a major issue. So it can go both ways. But a lot of times you see people voting for a Democrat, and let's say, because they're Christian, you say, oh, they're Christian. How can they vote for a Democratic candidate when they're Christian? Because certain things that the Democrats stand for, they stand for, and they vote that way. But it doesn't mean they believe in everything that the Democrats stand for. There are a lot of people who are Christian who vote for Democrat, and we know the abortion issue that is there, but they don't believe in abortion. But there are certain things that the Democrats represent that makes them go that direction. And vice versa. There are certain people who lean towards Republican, but they don't agree with everything that the Republicans stand for. But just certain policies that they have, they grab hold of and they vote that way. But it doesn't mean that they're full-fledged emphatic as everything the Republicans do, or full-fledged emphatic on everything that the Democrats do. It's just a difference of views. It's a difference of opinions. But it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. So we have to stop that. We have to stop acting like this person is my enemy and that person is my enemy just because they voted Democrat, just because they voted Republican. They may be misguided. You may be right about that, but don't throw anger at them. Pray for them. That's what I'm calling for us to pray. Pray for those who we feel are misguided. When the election came around, like I said, I don't consider myself a Democrat. I don't consider myself a Republican. I'm nonpartisan. So I'm not voting just because they're Democrat or Republican, but I'm looking at the candidate. And this is just me. This is me right here. When I looked at America today, America has gotten too liberal. This is me. This is me. Chris Harris, open doors. This is me. This may not be your viewpoint. This is my viewpoint. America has gotten too liberal. I voted Democratic before, but it's gotten too liberal. America, to me, has gotten out of hand. The LGBTQ2, whatever the alphabet is, I get that wrong all the time, has gotten out of hand. The transgender wave, to me, has gotten out of hand. The migrant issues have gotten out of hand. The inflation and everything else that's happening in this America has gotten out of hand. So for me, I felt there needed to be a shift. And when I looked at a candidate, now, just because a person votes for a candidate doesn't mean that they're in love with that candidate. But you can vote the policies instead of the candidate. Because a lot of people voted for Donald Trump. Doesn't mean that they're going to invite the man over for breakfast. Doesn't mean that the man is going to be over for a barbecue. There are a lot of people, since I've been doing these episodes, I've been doing studies. I'm not a political science major. There were a lot of people in the 60s who would hail LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, because of the Great Society programs that he implemented. But they say LBJ was the greatest racist. He was a big racist. But the policies that were there, people grabbed hold of because they said, this is, if I'm looking at two parties, two candidates, which one is going to benefit me more? That's where a lot of people have voted. Because people vote for different reasons. People vote for different reasons. It's funny because a lot of people have voted for Donald Trump, but they voted for different reasons. It's a mixed bag. I was listening to a lady, a sister in Christ, and she's a white lady. And she said when the election happened, she works in a retail. I think she works in a retail. She works in a store. And she said a customer came in, another white person, and they asked her, did she vote? And she said that, I think it was like the early election or something like that, the early votes. It wasn't the actual Tuesday where everybody was, it was like an early vote time. She said, not yet. And the person said, I did. And this is what the person said after that. He said, we got to get these niggas out the country. So this person voted for Donald Trump because they believe that Donald Trump is going to do, I don't know what they think Donald Trump is going to do, because I don't know where they think black people are going, because I'm not from Africa. I was born in America. But they vote for Donald Trump because they think something is going to happen. So people vote for him for different reasons. There are other people who vote because they believe that Donald Trump is going to change the economy. There are people, a lot of people who I know voted for Donald Trump because they believe that Donald Trump is going to, he may have some rough edges. He's not perfect, but God can use the imperfect, because if he couldn't, he wouldn't use me. He wouldn't use you, because we're all imperfect, but God can use the imperfect, and it's going to change the direction of this nation. People can vote for a candidate for different reasons. That's what I'm saying. Everybody is not standing in line voting for the candidate for the same reasons. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. I was saying on one of my other episodes, there are men who didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. It's true. It's true. People vote for different reasons. But we believe as Christians that God chose his candidate for this dispensation, for this season, to fulfill his assignment at this time. We believe God has the final say. That's what we believe. And we're here today. Donald Trump has been elected president of the United States of America. We have 4-year term. What are we going to do now? We have to bring this nation together, and we have to invoke the Pledge of Allegiance, where it says one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We got a lot of work to do in this nation. Because look at this. Before Donald Trump, I was a black man in America. After Donald Trump, I'll be a black man in America. We got our own struggles in America that was going to be here with him elected, without him elected. If Kamala Harris was a president, we were still going to have these struggles that we got to work on. We got to build up our families. We got to build up our communities. We got to do what we need to do to make sure as black people, we're good in this country, and that the next generation is good in this country. It doesn't matter if a Democrat was in office or a Republican was in office. In this nation, race relations, economics, health, different things that's happening in this nation, we got work to do. We got work to do. We got work to do. But we have to do it together. A house divided, a nation divided will not stand. Because I'm looking at the Pledge of Allegiance, I say that's a lie, because we're divided like never before. We're divided like never before. And we're definitely not under God. We've walked away from God. We're a perverted nation. The unrighteousness, the filthiness of this nation, we are a perverted nation. That I believe that God is bringing us back. I believe the Lord is bringing us back. I believe revival is going to come in this nation. But we have to do it together. And we have to pray. We have to pray. Pray for our leaders. No matter if it was Kamala, no matter if it was Trump, no matter if it was anybody. Pray for our leaders. Because when they have peace, we have peace. And we have to honor our leaders, especially if you're a Christian. Listen to me. The Bible tells us to submit to authority. To do it as if you're doing it for the Lord, because that's who you are doing it for. And that God puts people in power. God raises up kingdoms and God brings down kingdoms. Remember that. Remember that. Remember that. So we have to honor our leaders. We have gotten so far away. That's why I said America is so far away from God, because we don't honor our leaders. Our kids don't even honor their parents. The stuff the kids say to their parents. So this is your parent. This is your mother, your father, somebody in your house that raised you. You won't honor them. So I know you're not going to honor the president, the governor, the mayor, your supervisor, your manager. We have to honor those in authority because that's biblical. That's scriptural. Yeah, you might not like them, but pray for them. Pray for them that God will use them to bless you, that God will use them because they're your leader to lead you to where you need to go. If they're doing evil, pray for them that God will turn their heart. If they're still doing evil, pray that God will take them out of there. Prayer is important. Prayer is powerful. As a nation, we need to pray. As a church, we need to pray. That's all I have today. The election is over. The question I'm asking, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? One thing I also want to leave to you, remember that Christ is still king. No matter who's in office, Democrat, Republican, Independent, no matter who's in office, Christ is still Lord. He's still king and he's still on the throne. All right. What do you have to say about this topic? I know a lot of emotion is going on. The things I've been saying, people are angry, people are excited. I see it on both spectrums. I don't know where you stand, but after the election now that we see the results, what's next for the nation? Talk to me. I would love to hear if you in the comments, share something, let me know your opinion. You can think something totally different than where I'm going. Talk to me. Let's have a conversation about it. Before I get out of here, I want to give a shout out to the Dream Team, Blessed Dreams Production, my boy Alfred, Eyes Have Not Seen, my sister Marilyn. And until the next time an episode drops here at Open Doors, be blessed. I'll talk to you soon.
Don't ever take nothing for granted, man. Hey, you gotta wake up and realize it all.